Welcome back to Dinar Scope, where we break down the real stories behind the headlines and bring you the facts that truly matter to the Iraqi Dinar community. Today's topic has shaken every investor's nerves. Your 25,000 dinar could soon be worth only 25. The real story behind the headlines. If that headline made your heart skip a beat, you're not alone. It's the kind of news that spreads like wildfire across forums, social media, and chat groups. But before you panic or make any big decisions, take a breath, because what's actually happening might not be what you think. What if I told you that the 25,000 Iraqi dinar note sitting in your drawer, the one you've been holding with faith and patience, might soon look very different, yet still hold the same value? The phrase "delete the zeros" has returned to the spotlight once again, stirring confusion and debate across the dinar world. So what does it really mean? Are we facing a massive devaluation or just a major misunderstanding? Today we're breaking it all down clearly and calmly, without the hype or fear. Every few months, the rumor mill fires up again. Iraq is deleting zeros from its currency. Sounds dramatic, right? But when officials or economists mention deleting zeros, they're talking about something called redenomination, not revaluation. A redenomination is when a country changes the face value of its currency by removing zeros. So your 25,000 dinar note could technically become a 25 dinar note. But here's the key question. Does that mean you lose money? Not necessarily in a redenomination. The government introduces new notes with smaller numbers, but ideally the overall value of your money remains the same. For example, if $1 equals 1,300 dinar today, after redenomination, $1 might equal 1.3 new dinar instead. It's just a mathematical shift, not necessarily a loss. However, the outcome depends entirely on whether Iraq adjusts its exchange rate at the same time. If they don't, the value of people's savings could drop drastically, and that's the nightmare scenario investors fear. Imagine walking into a bank with a 25,000 dinar note and exchanging it for a new 25 dinar note. The paper changes, but if the exchange rate stays identical, your purchasing power remains steady. The problem is, if the transition isn't handled properly, that same 25 dinar could suddenly be worth a lot less. That's where panic begins. And as history shows, confidence is everything when it comes to money. Once people lose trust in a currency, recovery becomes a long, painful process. So why would Iraq even consider deleting zeros if the risks are that high? Supporters argue that it simplifies transactions, accounting, and day-to-day use. After all, it's easier to pay 5 dinar for a loaf of bread than 5,000. It also makes the currency look stronger, creating a psychological sense of stability. For citizens and businesses, fewer zeros mean less confusion and a modernized image that aligns Iraq's dinar more closely with global currencies like the US dollar or euro. But let's be real, while that might sound appealing on paper, those benefits are mostly cosmetic. Redenomination doesn't fix deeper economic challenges like corruption, unemployment, or Iraq's heavy dependence on oil revenue. Without real reforms, deleting zeros is just painting over cracks. The economy needs solid foundations, not just smaller numbers on its bills. To understand what might happen, let's look at history. In 2005, Turkey successfully cut 6 zeros from its lira. But it worked because it was part of a broad, disciplined economic reform plan. On the flip side, countries like Zimbabwe and Venezuela deleted zeros during times of hyperinflation, and it ended in disaster. Their currencies collapsed because the underlying problems weren't solved. Iraq, thankfully, isn't facing hyperinflation. Its exchange rate has stayed relatively stable near 1,300 dinar per US dollar. That stability suggests redenomination isn't urgently needed, and doing it now could create unnecessary chaos. So why are we hearing about this again in 2025? The answer lies in perception and politics. Some Iraqi policymakers believe that deleting zeros could symbolize progress and help citizens feel more confident in the dinar. They argue it's a way to simplify, trade, and mark the start of a new financial era. But many economists and investors see the opposite risk, that it could backfire, triggering confusion, mistrust, and even economic slowdown if mishandled. Think about it. Placing every note in circulation across a country of more than 40 million people is no small task. Banks would be overwhelmed. Rural citizens without easy access to financial institutions might not understand the process, and black markets would likely take advantage of the confusion. Redenomination is not just a financial move, it's a massive logistical and emotional test of public trust. Now let's talk about what everyone really wants to know. What happens to your 25,000 dinar note if Iraq actually goes through with this? In a perfect world, the central bank would adjust the exchange rate exactly as the zeros are removed, preserving your real value. You'd have fewer zeros on paper, but the same purchasing power. But in reality, these transitions are rarely flawless. Political pressure, technical errors, and poor communication could easily cause temporary or even permanent losses in value. That's why it's so important to separate redenomination from revaluation. A revaluation is what most investors dream about when the dinar's value actually increases against the dollar. In that scenario, your 25,000 dinar note stays the same, but suddenly becomes worth a lot more in USD. That's the big hope, and it's completely different from redenomination. The two ideas often get mixed up, but one changes the value, while the other just changes the numbers. So what's truly driving this conversation now? Analysts believe there's pressure on Iraq's policymakers to show visible signs of progress. Deleting zeros might seem like a quick symbolic way to do that, to make the dinar look cleaner, newer, stronger. Others say it's a way to reduce counterfeit notes and modernize banking systems. But beneath those explanations lies the real battle: control of Iraq's economic story. True reform can't be achieved through cosmetic moves. It has to come from building industries, diversifying revenue, and strengthening governance. For everyday Iraqis, the stakes couldn't be higher. Imagine waking up to find your entire salary, savings, and cash reserves suddenly expressed with fewer zeros. Even if the value technically stays the same, the shock could cause confusion, panic, and widespread fear. People might rush to banks, exchange shops, or black markets, triggering temporary instability. In rural areas where financial education and banking access are limited, the impact could be even harsher. And what about the international view? Iraq has spent years trying to rebuild investor confidence and attract foreign capital. Sudden monetary changes can send mixed signals. Is the country advancing reforms or hiding problems? Global investors crave predictability. Even the hint of uncertainty can make them pull back, delay projects, or look elsewhere. That's why economists warn that Iraq should tread very carefully before making such a drastic move. Then there's the cost, and it's huge. Printing new notes, updating banking systems, training staff, educating citizens, and replacing every single denomination across the country could cost billions. For a nation still rebuilding, that money might be better spent on infrastructure, jobs, or education. Economically, redenomination can be like giving a patient cosmetic surgery while the real illness goes untreated. It looks better, but it doesn't fix the root issue. So where does that leave you, the dinar holder watching right now? It means staying alert but not afraid. As of today, there is no official confirmation that Iraq will delete zeros from its currency. What we're seeing are discussions and proposals, not finalized plans. Until the central bank or Ministry of Finance makes a formal announcement, everything remains speculation. And in the world of currency investing, staying informed is your greatest protection. It's also important to recognize the emotional side of this story. For years, many investors have tied their hopes and dreams to the dinar's potential revaluation. The idea that years of waiting could vanish overnight is hard to process. But remember, economic reform takes time, and headlines don't equal decisions. The real story isn't about panic or despair. It's about patience, preparation, and perspective. If Iraq's leaders do decide to move forward, they'll need flawless coordination between banks, ministries, and communication networks to ensure citizens understand every step. Without clear messaging, people could lose their savings or fall victim to fraud. Even advanced economies have struggled with similar transitions. For Iraq, with its political complexity, the stakes are even higher. That's why many experts say if it happens at all, it must happen slowly, carefully, and transparently. Ultimately, deleting zeros isn't just a technical move, it's a test of leadership, vision, and trust. It will reveal whether Iraq's institutions can manage reform responsibly and maintain public confidence. Done recklessly, it could unravel progress. Done wisely, it could mark a turning point. But either way, true strength doesn't come from changing numbers, it comes from changing direction. So as a Dinar investor or follower, what should you do right now? Stay calm. Follow official updates from credible sources. Don't make emotional decisions based on rumors or viral headlines. Remember, misinformation thrives in uncertainty, and panic benefits no one. The smartest investors are those who stay informed, think long,